Hi everybody, welcome to the Dr. Sue and You Show. This is where we help you get through all the difficult parts of your life on a daily basis. Today is no different. I have another great expert with me today, actually in studio from California, but we will get to him in just a minute. As you know, most of my work is in the field of divorce. And when you're going through that divorce, you need experts in all different areas to help you get through this in the easiest way possible. So I search and search for the best experts in the country to help you to navigate through your divorce. And I have somebody on today that is a serious expert in the mortgage lending business. And I'm going to bring him into the show right now. His name is Jason Gordon, and he is the branch manager at AmeriFirst Financial in San Diego, California. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Dr. Sue, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on today. And people may be thinking, why are we talking to Jason? But we're talking to you because you focus on a specialty, which is certified divorce lending. So tell me a little bit, Jason, how you got into this and why this is important to you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So one of the first things I'd like to begin with is that, we live in a world where any ambiguity can and will be used against us in the court of public opinion. So I want you to know who I am and who I'm not. So everything that I will talk about today and all my actions kind of offline are centered around ethical consumer protection. So I'm not celebrating divorce. I'm not disrespecting the sanctity of marriage, and I'm sure not breaking up any marriages to get a commission. So what I've noticed about our business, quite simply, is that we manage clients through transitions in life. Whether you're a mortgage professional or a real estate agent, we have positive and negative transitions. And most professionals in both those fields, they focus on the positive transition, helping someone buy their first home, maybe helping someone upgrade to their dream house or buying a rental property. But they don't focus on the negative transitions in life, things like divorce, death, financial hardships. And they just sort of accidentally stumble across these scenarios once in a while, and they're ill-equipped to handle them properly. And you've got these, especially with divorce, these folks are going through a pretty emotional, tough time, and they need guidance. They need proper guidance. And I saw that void in our industry, and I spent the last 3+ years really diving in through a pretty big deep dive of education to be able to help these folks on a high level.
And you deserve to be commended for that, because there are a lot of people in the mortgage business throughout the country that don't understand that there are differences between somebody that is in a divorce or coming to the end of the divorce and somebody that is just getting a mortgage or is married or whatever the circumstances. Is that correct?
Absolutely. In fact, most of the training that a mortgage professional would endure focuses just on the basic, easy to do scenarios. And of course, easy and divorce don't belong in the same sentence. These are not how the training is typically set up. And with all the respect to a lot of mortgage companies, I'm never one to badmouth my competition, but there's a real dichotomy between transactional and relational mortgage professionals. And if I can just maybe take a moment to expand on that, transactional are these call centers. I won't mention company names, but you know who they are by all the commercials on the radio, television, online media. And most of us begin our careers in the transactional side of it because, let's face it, we don't know what we're doing. These companies will give you basic training. They give you leads. And if you're going to stumble across some not so good transactions while you're learning the business, why not do it with a total stranger that you'll never meet who's 400 miles away, as opposed to your mom's best friend who gave you a referral. So at some point, a lot of us will graduate over to the relational side. We act as a trusted advisor to other relationship-based professionals like real estate agents, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys. And accountability is everything. You are as good as your last conversation, your last escrow that you work on, and there's a whole different approach to it. And so I would just say to your viewers, if you want to know who you're working with, you're not sure, Google their name with the word mortgage after it. See what comes up. They don't have a LinkedIn profile or a Yelp profile. they're probably not that relational.
Right, and that's why I was so excited when I met you, because I could tell that you're a relational person, and that is so important in any kind of divorce profession when you are helping somebody get through this very difficult time in their life. And I would think, Jason, that buying a new home or refinancing the home you're in, you want to really develop a relationship with your lender and feel secure in working with this person. Am I right?
Absolutely. Well, as the mental health professional that you are, you know what a significant transition it is when you're buying a home. It's not just the finances involved. It's not just the mounds and mounds of paperwork or the fact that some total stranger is scrutinizing your ability to repay. It's also moving your family.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on. And if you're not working with people who see the bigger picture and have the intangibles, things like empathy, emotional intelligence, accountability, then you're really placing a lot of faith in a system that can really fail you if you're not working with the right people.
Now you're talking my language, so we can talk more openly now. You just talked about empathy and connection, and that's why people such as yourself out there are so important to connect with, because that's exactly what the divorced individual is looking for. They need a lot of empathy. And Jason, they don't understand maybe what it is to refinance or get a new mortgage or even going to look at homes or anything like that. This is a new transition for them, and they need to be walked through it. Is that something that you do? Do you walk clients through the process of getting a new mortgage when it comes to divorce? And what are some things that people need to know about it?
Absolutely. Well, I'm convinced, Dr. Sue, that there's a teacher buried deep into my psyche because I really love to educate folks.
Yes.
I always offer the face-to-face interaction. You know, I would say call me old-fashioned, but I want to shake the hands of the person I do business with. I realize and respect that's not always something that the clients want to do. So in the absence of that, I always do a go-to meeting where I share my screen. I really walk them through it, and I can definitely feel the pressure release when I'm talking with these folks that I work with. When they start really realizing what's going on, the mystery gets taken away, and they feel more comfortable knowing that, number one, I care. Number two, I know what I'm doing. Number three, I have their back.
Yes.
Now, to your other point of your question, and this is really kind of a Pandora's box, when you mix mortgage acquisition with divorce, we see a huge amount of problems. Not to generalize, every person going through divorce is, I'm not going to go there. At the same time, they're going through a trauma, and they're grappling for advice from anybody that will give it to them. And oftentimes, it may not be the right people giving them advice. And with all the respect to hairdressers or anyone else out there in the world that may want to give their client advice, that may not be the person you speak with when it comes to your mortgage needs. And
correct.
One thing I can tell you with some of my studies, and we were talking offline about some of the credentials I've earned, is that with all due respect to family law attorneys, they don't know Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mortgage underwriting guidelines. That was never taught to them in law school.
That's right.
Yet they are, in some cases, allowing or advising their clients to make these really, potentially legally ramification type of decisions with assumption or emotion attached to it rather than facts. And
You're
there's a way to get those facts.
Absolutely right, and I'm so glad you brought that point up as well. A lawyer has their place in the divorce, just like I do, and so do you. And you wouldn't go to your general practitioner if you had a heart problem. You go to the heart specialist. Lawyers are not equipped to do everything that has to do with your divorce, and they'll tell you that. They want people like us helping them. And so that's a great point that you brought up, because that's your field of expertise. Now look, you just brought up something really important. You are one of, I think, the only people in the country that has these 3 certifications. So I'm going to go through them, okay?
Please.
You're a certified divorce lending professional. You are a certified divorce real estate expert, and you are a real estate collaborative specialist. Well, you just got everything going on, Jason. So,
I'm an education junkie, I tell you.
That's good. We need that. Knowledge is power. So tell me a little bit about what each of those certificates and certifications are.
Sure, I'll give you a real brief just run through on them in the order that I acquired them. So the
Okay.
first one is an rcs-d, which stands for Real Estate Collaboration Specialist in Divorce. I was personally taught by a Harvard Law School graduate who's now a Vanderbilt University Law School professor, and very, very intelligent woman. And to really just summarize, and I kind of already did summarize her assertion, is that from a legal perspective, she believes, and I believe with her, that a lot of these family law attorneys are allowing their clients to make what amounts to be legally binding agreements based on assumption when they should be basing it on facts. And so she actually tours the country doing different types of speaking engagements, and she'll get a room full of family law attorneys, and she'll tell them what no one else will tell them is, hey, you're being negligent, you're not doing enough discovery, and these clients are relying on you. And so I'll kind of put a bow on that one there and say that, there was a lot of training that I got on that. And because I do a lot of public speaking, I got additional training from this woman, what she called train the trainer. Mm-hmm. And so I learned even more. But even at that point, I knew I just intuitively, I didn't have enough information to feel like I was equipped to go down this path, speak with attorneys on a high level. So I discovered, and I believe you had her on one of your shows before, Jody Bruns at the Divorce Lending Association, phenomenal woman, incredible curriculum. This had more of a street smarts feel to it because Jody's out there on the field with me as a mortgage originator. She's working with divorcing homeowners, home buyers, attorneys, escrow companies. And the education I got through her curriculum is called the CDLP, a Certified Divorce Lending Professional. And I don't know if you have an image that I maybe have sent over to you on the puzzle.
We are going to bring that image up when we come back from the break, and we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. We will be right back.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
The family law firm of Shemtab Dragonovsky Taylor will help you move through and beyond your divorce. We are a full-service boutique family law firm located in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. We handle cases in Montgomery County, Chester, Bucks, Delaware, and Philadelphia counties. We have 6 highly experienced lawyers and have represented clients for more than 30 years regarding these issues. Our clients depend on us to sort through the complicated issues involved in divorce and division of assets, spousal and child support, and custody. We listen to them, we gather the information, and we help them make informed decisions. We pride ourselves in our knowledge and our experience. We try to settle cases when we can, but we zealously advocate for our clients at trial as experienced and successful litigators. If you need help on any of these family life issues, please call us for an appointment at 215-542-2105 or check us out on our website at www.shemtablaw.com.
Getting divorced and need help figuring out your options for refinancing the marital home or purchasing a new home after a divorce? You need a divorce lending professional. There is only one place and one person to turn to for help. Jody Bruns, founder and president of the Divorce Lending Association. Jody is a certified divorce lending professional with over 20 years of experience and has been assisting divorcing couples to identify their goals and has successfully obtained mortgage financing when divorce is present. She understands your needs when it comes to various income sources such as employment, spousal support, and child support, as well as how to work with the liability of paying the various types of marital debt and so much more. If you are divorcing and need a mortgage, there is no one else to turn to except Jody Bruns. She helps clients nationwide. Contact her directly today at 720-692-7241 or by email at jody@jodybruns.com. NMLS ID 831033.
Hi, welcome back to the Dr. Sue and You Show. I am joined today by Jason Gordon. He is the branch manager at AmeriFirst Financial, and we are talking about you and your mortgage when you are getting a divorce. So welcome back to the show, Jason.
Thanks, Dr. Sue.
Jason, before we went to the break, we were talking about all the great credentials that you have. And we were talking about the Certified Divorce Lending Professional credential. And up on the screen right now, we have a picture of a house. Can you go over what that means, please, to the people that are watching?
Absolutely. The CDLP, or Certified Divorce Lending Professional credential that I acquired through the Divorce Lending Association, which not only required a lot of education and testing, but it's ongoing. This image that you see on the screen, I think, is very simple yet very powerful. Is what it basically asserts is that any divorcing homeowner has, at minimum, 4 different what we call puzzle pieces that they have to navigate through.
Okay.
So obviously, a divorce is a legal process. Whether they get attorneys or not, there's a judge at the end of the road. So there's the law. When it comes to being a homeowner, there's often tax implications, whether that's from maybe capital gains perspective, maybe someone's liquidating a 401k before retirement age. So there's that tax piece. And then by the way of them being homeowners, we know there's real estate involved, and where there's real estate, there's typically a mortgage involved. And so that image, if you look at it closely, these puzzle pieces are meant to connect to each other. But if you look closely, they're not quite connected. Mm-hmm. The reason being is that the professionals that are experts in each of those different puzzle pieces typically do not collaborate. They work on their own piece, which puts the burden on the divorcing homeowner to connect those pieces themselves. And that divorcing homeowner is typically not an expert on any one of those pieces, much less all 4. And oh, by the way, they're going through one of the biggest emotional traumas of their life and may not be thinking straight. So we could be doing better.
I agree with you. That's a great demonstration of what goes on. Now, you also do a lot of speaking, don't you, to educate people on what is going on in divorce lending. Where do you speak? Who do you speak to? And what are you teaching these individuals?
Absolutely. There's a real estate seminar called The Career Compass. If you went to thecareercompass.com, I don't work for the company, but I am one of the speakers, and I've been one of the speakers now for almost about a decade now.
Okay.
And they have about 10 of those plus or minus per year, usually about 300, again, plus or minus real estate agents per seminar. And it's a 2.5-day, very intensive seminar on business development, ways to overcome threats in the industry. And so I usually speak about divorce real estate to this audience here. And what I really want these real estate agents to know is that there's a huge importance about getting trained. And I'm a huge proponent of the Divorce Real Estate Institute, which has now been rebranded to the Alumni Institute.
Okay.
That is who taught me the Certified Divorce Real Estate Expert credential. And so I really try to make sure that these real estate agents know that this organization exists, the importance of being trained, and really, with all the respect to these agents, if they're not willing to be trained, go ahead and refer these divorce cases off to a real estate agent that is trained. They can still get referral fees and whatever have you, but let's make sure these divorcing homeowners are being under the advisement of people who are trained.
Okay. That's a great idea, because what you're doing is educating other people in a field about what you're doing and how this can help their clients.
Absolutely. And to even expand on that, there's an expression, you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, that is true, Jason.
And
yeah, that is true.
When you dive into real estate, I mean, just think about this one perspective. Imagine being a realtor who sells a non-divorce listing for a couple who's cooperative, right? They're selling property A to buy property B, so they're so cooperative with the sale of property A. They're painting the fence in the backyard. They're getting the house all tidy. Mm-hmm. That's what these real estate agents are typically used to. Imagine a divorce case where that couple is very combative, not cooperating with the showings, maybe even sabotaging the showings and or the condition of the home. And imagine being a realtor being put in that situation. I mean, how do you navigate through those muddy waters? That's where I would really recommend that any real estate agent who's really wants to do this for any kind of period of time, even one listing for that matter, gets educated through the Alumni Institute and pursues that Certified Divorce Real Estate Expert. I'm amazed how much I learned in that curriculum.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that you did, and I think it will serve you well. Now let's switch gears a little bit. I want to pick your brain here.
Please.
All right, so when somebody gets divorced, here's my first question for you. How is it determined who can keep the home?
Well, with any type of mortgage, whether divorce or not, and I say we as in not me or my company, but my industry or the industry that I work in, if we're looking at, say, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac mortgage approval guidelines, we're looking at any borrower from a few different perspectives: their credit, their equity, their cash flow, maybe their assets. And so what we see so often, and I'll just use the example of, a man and a woman are going to be getting divorced. Let's just say that they owe $400,000 on a mortgage. The house is worth $500,000. Nice clean numbers there.
Okay.
And let's just say that they've decided amongst themselves a couple things. Number one, we're getting divorced. Number two, she's keeping the home. He's getting out of here. We call him the out spouse. He's out of the house. He says to her, well, I'll move out of the house and I'll give you the house under two conditions. Number one, remove me from that joint loan, so I don't have this $400,000 mortgage hanging over my head from a credit perspective the rest of my life. And number two, give me half of that $100,000 equity. So give me $50,000. Well, with that in mind, what we see so often is that they both lawyer up. They tell their attorneys they've agreed to these terms. The attorneys say, well, that's one less thing that you're fighting over. Sounds good to us. They petition the courts. The judge sees what they're asking for. It looks very fair on paper. Judge will then, have a court order that says she is going to remove him from the loan and give him $50,000. Well, it's oftentimes only then that I talk with this woman. I tell her, well, you're trying to refinance that $400,000 loan that took both of you to qualify for into a $450,000 loan in just your name. You may not qualify.
Right.
That's the big moment that we can avoid if people are getting consulted before they petition.
What? Okay. I knew you were going to say that because this happens a lot. I hear it from clients too, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to send you to Jason or somebody like that. But what kind of advice is that even to give to a client? They're the ones that aren't going to be able to stay in the house. And that goes back to the point of, if you're moving from the house or you're dealing with the house, you talk to a mortgage professional, not a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah. So what is the better way to go there, Jason?
Well, and this is what we're trying to educate the family law attorneys. And I have a huge amount of respect for family law attorney, any attorney for that matter, but family law is a extra special type of challenge daily,
Yes.
Especially from a mental perspective. I mean, there's a lot of emotion flying, and I won't even open that Pandora's box any further. There's a lot of emotion going on. So I have a lot of respect for family law attorneys. What I want them to know is that there are trained professionals, again, CDLPs on the mortgage side, CDREs or rcs-ds on the real estate side, that they can pull in to their divorce team. Just like you would pull a family therapist in to look at potential child custody dynamics. Pull us in early during that discovery period. Let us tell you what can happen. An example I gave about that man and woman, the $400,000 mortgage, I could have sniffed that out within moments by looking at her financials and letting her know that she doesn't qualify. At that point, maybe they then prep to just sell the property, split the cost of the sale and split the net proceeds, and both go move into maybe more affordable homes on their own when they start their after marriage life.
So what you're saying overall, Jason, is that in a divorce, the mortgage aspect does not have to be as complicated as it could be made out to be. There are avenues that can be explored to reduce someone's anxiety when they're going to stay in a home or buy a new home or refinance. And what is the benefit of refinancing when you're in a divorce?
Well, for a few things. I mean, more often than not, if real estate is involved on a divorce, one of three scenarios will typically happen. Number one, the couples will sell the home, pay off the mortgage through the sale, split the proceeds, and move on. Number two, one wants to keep the home, and if the other one's on that mortgage, the one that's on that mortgage who's leaving the property usually wants to be removed from that mortgage. And number three, which is very rare, they keep the home and they become business partners after marriage, which you don't see very often. But if you go back to that second option just for a moment there,
Yes.
A lot of people assume that there's no difference between who's on title and who's on the loan. So who's on title signifies who owns the property.
Okay.
That's public records, and that's very easy to alter. You can add or remove people. You can change the vesting into a trust or an LLC very easily. But to remove someone from a loan is a lot harder, because you think about it, Dr. Sue. Once upon a time ago, these folks signed loan documents. In that document was a promissory note that they said they'll pay back a certain amount of money over a certain period of time at a certain interest rate. Nowhere did it say unless our marriage fails. So that bank has two guarantors on the hook. They're not going to let one of them off typically just because the marriage failed. And that's one of the biggest assumptions we see. And I mean, if there's one thing that is resonating through my presentation today or my interview here today is, let's not make these big decisions based on assumptions or emotions when you have facts available.
I think that's the greatest thing that you just said right there, and I could not agree with you more. You have to have facts before you make any decisions and do your research before you engage any professional in your divorce process. There's no difference in getting a mortgage as well, and it's great that there are divorce lending professionals certified like you that are out there to help them. Now, we're going to wrap up the show in just a second, but before we do, Jason, I want to know your best tip to people that are getting divorced that need a mortgage. What is it?
Okay, I love being put on the spot. I love it. So I'll give you a tip that most people don't know about, is the moment either one of the divorcees files paperwork with the county, from a mortgage perspective, and again, this is not me or my company, this is the industry, we see the filings. We can do a judgment search and see the filing. We look at that as a pending lawsuit. We make no assumptions on gender based on who will give or receive spousal support or divide assets in a certain way. So what that does is it paralyzes us from doing any financing. And there's oftentimes, and I have a bunch of different scenarios where I've helped people before they filed, and had they filed, we wouldn't have been able to do anything until the divorce was resolved and all the terms are finalized, which could take years.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point that you just made there, because a lot of times when you're going through a divorce, you don't know when to do certain things or when not to. And sometimes you wait too late to take action in an area of the divorce process that you need to do. So it's great that you said that you can do that earlier on, correct? Doesn't that prepare them more for when they do get to the point where they're splitting the assets or have to get out of the home or things like that?
Have that initial conversation with someone like me, whether it's me or someone local that you trust, but ask them questions, because you'll realize that there's things that you might want to do in the heat of the moment that are going to backfire on you, like not paying your debts. I've had situations where attorneys have told their clients, don't pay your debts until your ex plays ball. We watch their credit scores drop over 100 points while they're doing this game of chicken, and it destroys the option of doing any financing. And I'm thinking, what attorney would do that? But it's happened so many times. So find someone you trust who is qualified to give you that advice, and then follow the advice.
You just taught me something there, because I've heard that many times from clients of mine whose lawyers have advised them to stop paying the credit cards. But I thought the same thing that you did. That's going to lower your credit score, so you can't get credit. How are you going to get a mortgage?
Well, it goes back to that example I gave you about the promissory note. Let's say you have a credit card with, Capital One or Citibank or whatever it may be. They're going to report every month to the credit bureaus your payment history. They're not going to say, "Oh, we're going to ignore the fact that they're 90 days late because they're going through some marital problems." That's not what the credit bureaus or the creditors are meant to do. They're meant to communicate facts. And the fact is, you agreed to make a payment and pay back terms of money that you borrowed, whether on a credit card, an auto loan, student loan, or mortgage loan. If you do not pay back according to your agreed upon terms, regardless of the context, there will be negative ramifications.
And people don't think about this, Jason, for the number one reason that they are going to trust in their attorney. But something you brought up today that is really important to me is that continuing education is important in all aspects of the field of divorce. You agree with that?
100%.
And if you're not up to date on what's going on in different aspects of the divorce, you can give your client information that can hurt them. You're not the first certified divorce lending professional that I've heard this information from. And it blows me away because I like to connect with people and professionals that are really trying to help divorced individuals surround themselves with the best team possible. These people are already suffering so much to begin with that they need people that will have their backs. And I could tell from talking to you today, you're one of those people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that, how can people get in touch with you? And do you offer a consultation?
Whether it's a divorce or non-divorce, I always offer free consultations, whether by phone, GoToMeeting, in person, whatever is the best logistic that we can work through. A great way to get a hold of me, and of course, you can remember my name, Jason Gordon, but people always forget names. So I've created a bit of a moniker online. It's Divorce Loan Pro. You can go to divorceloanpro.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Divorce Loan Pro. If you search that, you'll see my name and the word mortgage on there. Great way to get information on an ongoing basis. I don't shove information down people's throats, but I try to give information in bite-sized pieces. And what I share typically is useful for a divorcee, a legal financial professional, whoever, or a real estate professional. It's just meant to help people kind of get information in bite-sized pieces.
Well, it's been wonderful to have you on the show today. I really learned a lot from you, and that's a great thing because even I don't know everything about everything. But if anybody was ever asking me who to refer them to that needs mortgage advice, it's you. Because you get it, and you get what they're feeling, and I think you understand the approach that they need. And I thank you very much for doing the work that you're doing in this field. It really means a lot. One more question, and then we have to wrap up. Do you only do this in California, or are you certified in other states?
I can help folks throughout the country as far as advice. I may not be able to originate the loan depending on what state it is. There's a whole bunch of states that my company is licensed in, but for now I would say don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can always let you know if I can help you personally or refer you out. And just in closing, Dr. Sue, I want to say I really appreciate your approach. I say us here in the West Coast, we need more brashness in our world, and I love how much you advocate for your clients. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Jason. Maybe I'll take a trip out there and come educate your people out there as well.
I think the weather's about high 80s right now and sunny, so come on out.
I'm hopping on a plane right after the show, okay? Because I like that weather. But thank you so much for being on the show today, Jason. Wonderful job, wonderful information. Have you back on again. Listen, everybody, getting through your divorce is extremely complicated. But there are great professionals out there in all the areas that you need to help you through it. Today we had a great guy on, Jason Gordon, in the mortgage industry. So you can move through your divorce in a way that doesn't have to cause tremendous anxiety. But to do that, you have to get to the best professionals in the field. And I'm just pleased that I can bring you some of them. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you right back here for another edition of the Dr. Sue and You Show next Thursday. Bye-bye.